Oh, hey, everybody. I don't know where my brother is, but he'll probably be here soon. Thanks for joining us and for supporting the Dear Hank and John on Patreon. We really appreciate it. I want to read back some of your comments. Um, I guess there's concern about. It seems like the comments are about getting to signed copies of the Anthropocene Reviewed internationally, which is a problem I do not know how to solve. Um, And Lindsay is thankful to whoever recommended the book Circe a couple live streams ago, uh, which is a really good book. I agree. Um, so I think Hank will be joining us in a second, but in the meantime, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. As for what's been going on in my life, signing a lot of tip-in sheets for the Anthropocene Reviewed book. There are going to be more signed copies of the Anthropocene Reviewed book available than I think any of my previous books. And yeah, I think we have to like get the messaging correct because I still don't fully understand the messaging. I there are all kinds of machinations with international shipping that are complex and are more complex when it comes to publishing. So I've got to get the messaging down before I can more effectively share the messaging with everyone else, aside from like all copies in the US and Canada will be signed that are pre-ordered. Um, in the past, like what happened with Turtles All the Way Down and what happened with Hank's books and what happens with most books that have signed a large amount of signed copies is that the signed edition gets one ISBN and the unsigned edition gets another ISBN. I just don't like that because it's confusing and it creates a layer of complexity for readers that I don't want to be there. I just want to be able to say like the entire first printing of the book will be signed. And so I lobbied my publisher really hard for that, but it turns out there are all kinds of downsides to that, which is that there still isn't necessarily a lot of clarity with international stuff. Um, Other than that, just trying to keep working, trying to make a video every Tuesday and a podcast every week while still dealing with the challenges that I think all of us have. Is it smoky in Indiana? It's not. It's actually really nice here. We do not usually have fire. We don't really have a fire season in Indiana. It's rare that there are large fires in central Indiana. That said, the climate is obviously changing, so who knows what the future holds. Uh, Julia says, "Hi, John. I wanted to say the Fault in Our Stars helped me get through my own cancer experience." That's very kind of you to say. Thank you. I'm glad that it could be kind of a fellow traveler with you, and I really appreciate you reading it. That's by far the most fulfilling part of my relationship with that book is hearing from people like you. So thank you, and yeah, I really appreciate it. My hair is extra salt and peppery today. It's true. I don't. Yeah, I mean, it's all about the lighting. Like this is very gray. My temples are very gray, and this is quite gray. But it's mostly about the lighting. I mean, it's only going in one direction. Like it will become more and more gray with time. So, oh yeah, it's not becoming less gray. That's for sure. Especially in these larger times. Hi, Hank.
Hi, John. Sorry I'm late.
That's
Um,
okay.
the, maybe there's life on Venus.
I know, it's exciting. Is that what you were doing?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, I mean, I'm not an expert, but based on the two news articles I read, I don't think there's life on Venus.
I don't think that there's. I don't think that we know that there's life on Venus.
Yeah, well, as I thought Phil Plait said something really interesting about this that is not only about whether there's life on Venus. He said, when you want something to be true,
Mm-hmm.
you need to pay more attention to the fact that it
Yeah.
might be false.
Well, but we never do that. And of the things we should do that about, I feel like Venus is down on the list. I want to be excited. I want to be faking myself out and believing that Venus has got life on it. I would rather be because that has no actual impact on my life or the lives of the people in my country.
Yeah,
Or maybe it does. I don't know. Maybe it has some kind of impact on people's understanding of their place in the universe. It does not have an impact on my understanding of my place in the universe because there's life somewhere, John. It'd just be really convenient if it was on Venus because it would be much easier to get to.
yeah. I I guess like I am not overly concerned. I would like to explore the solar system more, and I would like to improve our ability to interact with space, like to get into space. I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
positive thing for humans.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Earth is going to be the only
Yeah.
place where humans live in large
Yeah.
numbers at
Yeah.
large scale. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think most of our resources should be Earth oriented.
I agree with you.
I know.
Yeah, can I tell you why it's interesting and exciting? Why I think
Yeah.
it's exciting?
Yes.
Um, just because um, being able to study life from a different planet would tell us one of two things. It
Right.
would either tell us that life can move from planet to planet, like if the life on Venus is very similar to life on Earth,
Right.
that would be very interesting. That would be a very important and big hypothesis and in sort of planetary biology confirmed. Um, or it could be very, very different from life on Earth, in which case we would get to examine a living system that is not related to our living system. And everything on Earth shares the same chemistry. And so to find something
Right.
that has entirely unique chemistry, even if it is like the same chemistry at the very base level, would just be an opportunity for study and learning about the universe that we don't have any other way of opening that door and doing that research. And
Right.
so if and like to me it's a roll of the dice whether there's actually non-earth life in the solar system. It is not a roll of the dice whether or not it's in the galaxy, but like if it's not in the solar system, we don't have any way of figuring it out.
Right. It's it's not a roll. It is a roll of the dice whether it's in the galaxy. It's just a roll of of like a 100-sided die in which in order for there not to be life elsewhere in the galaxy, you have to roll 100
Right.
times in a row.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. It's
want to
like
make it
it's
clear
like
that
roll
it
it's
is.
like rolling one on a billion-sided die.
Yeah, it's very unlikely. But I also don't like I sometimes think that like we don't, you and I in particular, but also humans in general, don't do a good enough job of acknowledging confidence intervals. That like we don't do a good enough job of being like, hey, listen, all of this is really weird. Like it's really weird that there are this many trees on Earth, and so we're not sure. Like I feel like if we had done more of that early in the COVID crisis, if there had been more,
We don't
boy,
know.
I'm not
This
sure.
is
We're not
weird.
sure. It's going to be a couple months until we've got real
Hmm.
strong thoughts on this. I
Yep.
wish there was some way that we could like when our best current idea is not very well informed, that we could like write those ideas and talk about them in like
A
the
different
color
way.
blue.
Yeah, yeah,
And then when we became slightly more sure, we would write about them in the color green. And then we became very sure, we would write about them in the color black. Like, I wish there was some way to be like, this is a blue, we have a blue level guess
yeah,
that wearing masks is not going to work. And
yeah,
then the next, like a month later, it would be like, we now have a green level guess that wearing masks does work.
yeah. Yeah, and this is not how people want to communicate because simplicity, like oftentimes you only get 10 words to a person. Like you only get to communicate ten words before like you've reached you're not going to reach 50% of
Yeah.
the people have dropped out.
Yeah.
And this is something that public health people understand much better than I do, but like I get the sense that they're like we need a very simple set of instructions. And right now the set of instructions is don't wear a mask. And now the set of instructions is do wear a mask. And like just fucking pay attention and listen to us and like don't ask why, just do it. And that also doesn't work.
Yeah, no, I think that we need to be able to like and phrases in the world of science that make sense to scientists, like there is no evidence that
Mm-hmm.
need to either need to be better explained to the
Right.
general public, or they need to not be used when talking to the public.
Mm-hmm.
So that I feel, Hank, you're a little bit quiet. Can you turn up your mic?
I just did.
Well,
Hello.
now you're very loud.
Okay, well, I'll
You
move away
sound
from
great.
the mic.
No, you sound great.
Okay.
Yes, you and I are on the same page. I want to get to some questions. Sarah asks, would Book Depository be able to get out signed copies of the Anthropocene Reviewed book? No. The only thing I know for sure is that Book Depository in the past has failed at getting signed copies that they said were signed copies. So don't do that. Period.
Okay.
They did that with your book, and they've done it with my books in the past too. So don't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard, John?
Well, that stuff is hard because of copyright law. That there are these laws, there are these treaties between nations about what kinds of books can be shipped from one region to another, that have to do with intellectual property. And it's largely because when you sign a book contract in the United States, you usually sign it for the rights to distribute the book in the United States and Canada.
Right.
And so they're trying to do right by authors, but it's very confusing and crappy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are very strange things that I don't understand, and like no one can explain to me. Like there are special English language books of my book that sell in Europe that I do not get a royalty on. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah.
The
That's how
English
it is.
editions, the English editions that sell in Europe, you mean you get a royalty? It just goes toward your advance.
No, I don't get a
You get
royalty.
it's like 6 cents a book. I am positive.
Yeah, Jody's told me that I didn't get anything.
It's essentially nothing, but it's not nothing.
Okay.
Jody probably feels like it's nothing because that's Jody's. But yeah,
Jody's done the math. Yeah.
well, this is so I don't tell this story outside of the live stream, but should I tell? I'll tell the story. So when The Fault in Our Stars was first published, they were like, "Do you want like we would like to?" They came to me and they were like, "A couple of people in England want to publish the book," and I said, "No, I hate the I no, I won't do it again. I had really bad experiences with publishing in England. One time I got paid like for Paper Towns. I'll just tell the whole story. For Paper Towns, I got paid $1,000 for the book rights. They then asked me to come over to support the book, but they didn't reimburse my flight. So, and that was like $1,200. So I was
Now
at
you're in the hole.
$200 for my book deal, and like the whole experience was just not great, I guess I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a really close friend who's very, very famous, who calls the United Kingdom, in publishing terms only, Turd Island. And I was like, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to deal with a separate publisher. And they were like, you realize that you're only like, then like people will still buy the book, but they'll buy the international edition and you only get like 6 cents a book. And I was like, yeah, but I really don't want to publish in Turd Island. And this put me in an incredibly strong negotiating position, so that eventually they came to me and they were like, well, what would make you publish in Turd Island? And I thought of the biggest number I could possibly think of. And then they said yes. And that was the only like good business decision I've made in my whole life.
Well, it's always very frustrating to me when people say yes to like a number that's way bigger than the one that they initially offered. And I'm like, why can't we just talk about how much everything is worth and then put a 20% margin on it? Like,
yeah,
come on.
I know. It felt good when they said yes, though. I didn't think to myself like, oh, I wish I'd said a higher number, because I couldn't think of a higher number. Several people have pointed out that I've already told this story, so obviously it's not that.
I've heard it.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry to repeat a story.
Mm. So how does Leon Musk feel about Venus, John?
Oh, I think that he's I don't know for sure. I mean, I haven't talked to the guy in forever. But if I had to guess, I would think that Leon Musk is has no. I would think that Leon Musk is probably strongly in favor of investigating life on Venus because it will delay the investigation of life on Mars. All Leon Musk really cares about is keeping the humans off Mars till 2028.
Yeah. Well, there's this thing about Venus, which is that going to the surface is real bad.
Yeah,
Like
I
bad
know.
in every way.
Yeah.
But like in the upper layers of the atmosphere of Venus, it's like one atmosphere of pressure. So just like on Earth, it's 20 degrees Celsius, which is like really lovely temperature. Now it's extremely acidic. So if you were to breathe in a gulp of air, you would
Hmm.
die really fast and painfully. But
Hmm.
like that's just like, but you could like wear a basically, full bodysuit, and we wouldn't have to even do like climate control on it. So it's lovely in the upper atmosphere of Venus, and so as long as you don't want to land on Venus, it could be a place where people go and sort of live permanently, as long as they're living in like cloud bubbles above the surface, like in Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I don't think that humanity is going to be a multiplanetary species. When you're
You
like,
never know. You never
it's
know.
totally doable as long as we're just living in cloud bubbles,
Yeah, and as
and
long as you
wearing
don't go
spacesuits
outside and
all the
breathe.
time, and you never
If
go
you,
outside, you never breathe,
yeah.
all your air is conditioned. I mean, I guess like, you know, I'm a little bit in that situation on Earth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm all for exploring Venus.
Yeah, it can feel
Oh,
a little bit like don't go outside and breathe, especially if you're on the west part of the country right now.
yeah. Naya says, I'm still remembering how epic my friend's cosplay was of Leon Musk that he wore to NerdCon
Oh
Nerdfighteria.
my God.
Oh, I'm so glad we did NerdCon Nerdfighteria before the world blew up.
Yeah.
Um, I would like to do it again when the world
Hmm.
returns to normal.
Yeah.
I think it's a good, like, once every 5 years kind of conference. It would be great if we could find a way to do it without losing money.
Yeah, we didn't lose that much money, but it was a lot of work. Um, just a lot of time, like people's time. So you can't like have an event that runs every 5 years if the people like because people aren't going to be working on it for the full 5 years.
Right, right.
To
But
figure out
I mean, it was great,
how to
and I
do
would
it.
really like to do it again,
Yeah.
even if we have to organize it a little differently or make it a little less like tightly run. Um,
Yeah, I mean, there are also event planning companies. We used to work with them to do VidCon.
oh yeah, I remember that.
So
I found it very challenging.
I also found it challenging. Maybe with something like NerdCon Nerdfighteria, we have a really specific plan where it's just like it's not complicated. Just need you to,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, well, also, who knows when we're all going to be.
yeah. It definitely is not going to happen next year.
Sarah says it was the best con that they've ever been to.
Dope. It was
That
really
was
really
really
fun.
nice. It's good to hear. What is some Pizza Miss news, Hank?
Well, I've got some early Pizza Miss designs in. The goal is to not show John any of the designs until they arrive at his house so that he can
Great.
unbox them and
Yeah,
be surprised and
yeah.
delighted. We were working this weekend on a Pizza Miss design that I can't believe we've never done before, honestly, and is so beautiful. But also, I'm worried that no one will buy it because it's a little bit like, wow, you're really gonna wear that shirt? But people
Well,
bought None Pizza
I
with
was gonna
Left
say,
John, so
None Pizza with Left John is one of the best-selling T-shirts of the last 2 years. So
yeah.
people will surprise you. I'm excited. I saw somebody make a Pizza Miss shirt out of bioluminescent bacteria.
Oh, amazing.
I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Let's see. I wanted to ask you some follow-up questions. Do we know
Hmm.
when Pizza Miss is going to be, or are we not announcing that yet?
Oh, we do know where Pizza Miss is going to be, and we can announce it. There's no reason not to, and so let's announce it. It begins on Monday, the 5th of October. John, and then it goes on through the 16th.
Wait, how? I don't think that's right.
It is. It's October 5th.
Rosiana says you have crumbs on your shirt. Oh, I do.
Me?
Jeez,
Oh.
no, me. I've got a lot of crumbs on my shirt. Wait. That can't be right.
Why not?
I'm sorry. I have to correct you. You're saying that Pizzamas begins on October 3rd?
October 5th.
No. No, because that would mean that I have 1, 2, 3 more Vlogbrothers videos to make before Pizzamas begins.
That is, I think, the case.
No, Hank, you told me you counted. You were extremely specific.
I thought I did. Do we not have enough?
Oh my God.
We can make it. We'll make it.
Hold on.
I may have.
Two.
It's hard to keep track of.
It's not hard to keep track of.
It's hard to keep track of this thing that we aren't doing.
It's not hard to keep track of. There's a Google Doc that was created by Julie Herrick that keeps track of it. I am super annoyed.
Well, I would be super annoyed too if it was the case, but I don't think it is.
1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, we both have 3, and we both have 3 before Pizzamas starts. Okay, we'll talk about this later.
Well, now I am very.
1, 2, 3.
What share the doc you're looking at with me, because I've got a different doc. Clearly,
I'll put it in the. I'll just put it in comments here. I'll put it in private chat.
Thanks.
Just remembered something. Oh, I just remembered something that's going to save us. Okay, I just remember. It's great. It's great news. I just remembered something that's going to save us.
This is the questions. You sent me the questions.
Oh shoot, sorry. It's been bothering me. I've been thinking about there's this problem that's been bothering me that there's a. Anyway, we'll talk about it later. We're coming perilously close to acknowledging it.
I don't know what you're talking about, John.
Oh God.
Why didn't I have access to this doc?
You don't have access? There's currently 75 people in it. So
I didn't know about it.
Oh. Yeah, it's great. It's a great doc. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah. There's 6 left. I don't know what we're talking about. Never mind. We'll talk about it afterward.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I count 5.
You forgot the last one, John.
You forgot the last one, John. You forgot the last one. No, but that would be the first day of Pizzamas, right? Wasn't that the idea? Well, we have 6 videos before the first day of Pizzamas.
What? Right.
Titles.
Well, then we'll talk about it afterward.
Okay, but I have a solution. I have an incredible solution.
I'm excited.
The solution is gonna blow your mind. Yeah. Okay. Let's stop.
Pizzamas is October 5th until October 16th, and I'm very excited.
Yes. Okay. All right. This is a very strange.
Oh God. Also on my calendar during Pizzamas is They Might Be Giants concert.
Oh, it's not looking likely. Not likely.
Oh well. At least this way I'll have more time to focus on Pizzamas.
Yeah, I mean, I have not been able to get much. It's very weird time work wise because there's a lot to do. But yeah,
I have not been very efficient.
No, I've been much less efficient than I'm used to being.
My lower back also hurts.
Are you in pain all the time?
No, I would not say that I'm in pain all the time. So that's good, at least.
Just a lot of the time?
No, it's achy. It's not even painful. It's like one, the pain chart. It's like a 2.
But it's all
discomfort.
Yeah, I have this finger, ow. When I do that, when I make a peace sign, basically. I think it's tendonitis related to tennis playing.
Mm.
but it's
Hmm.
super uncomfortable. It's surely not related to the fact that I signed my name 17,000 times last week.
I don't
So,
understand why I can't do things without it hurting anymore.
yeah, I mean, it only, all this stuff only goes in one direction that we know of.
Is that what the
Um,
band is about? Is that what they were saying?
I think the band was like, we're all going in the same direction, which of course turned out not to be true. That's the kind of promise that 19-year-olds make that they can't keep. But
Yeah, but it turned out they were all going in one direction, and that in 70 years they will all be dead.
no, maybe not. I mean, maybe not all of them. I would say in 70 years, 4 out of 5, probably.
Okay, it's true. There's still
Um,
Beatles around.
I mean, there's still the Beatles. That's a whole different lifestyle. I mean, I don't see any evidence
It's
that
true.
you know,
Yeah, they do. I think the boys seem a little well, they seem healthy. Also, hopefully, they're headed into a world where we have better medicine.
yeah,
We're going
that'd
to
be
learn a
great.
lot about immunology in the next couple of years.
We are. We've also we also may learn that if we focus a lot of resources around vaccine development, we can develop vaccines.
Yeah, that would also be great.
Yeah. Um, I don't think I don't think that the judging from my extensive reading about the Black Death over the last 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
which admittedly was far worse than this, but I don't think that most of the outcomes from this will be good.
I think you're correct, John.
So I'm a little suspicious of people who are very like silver liningsy because I think that ignores the other linings of the cloud, which are going to be long
Look,
term and really shitty.
look. I'm saying there's going to be good things,
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean there's not going to be way more bad things.
I think there's going to be way more bad things, and
Yeah,
like I wish that the bright siders would just acknowledge that like
yeah,
yeah, like hopefully we'll learn some stuff. Like it's you can make the argument. Well, for instance, after the Black Death, like feudalism in Western Europe collapsed not because of any of anybody having some enlightened revelation that like feudalism was wrong, but because there wasn't enough labor, and so the price of labor went way up and the rights of workers went came up along with it. Now, was that good? Sure, but like half of people died in a
mm-hmm.
4-year period.
Yeah.
So, and also like there were tons of horrible outcomes, which is that like, like in a lot of cases, populations never recovered. Many other cases, populations didn't recover for like 600 years. So I don't know. I think that I think it's going to be. Oh, I think we're in for a fascinating ride.
There's only one way to find out, John.
Let's all try to stay healthy,
Yeah, there's only one way to find out.
which is not to die during the pandemic, which is
One
my main,
direction.
just so that I can enjoy all of the hot takes over the next 25 years about what this moment meant.
Yeah, I think that people will think that Twitter and Facebook were nearly as bad as the pandemic,
Mm,
but only them in combination with each other.
yeah, I mean, the pandemic would have been worse in some ways without the tools of the internet, for
Yeah,
sure.
it's true.
But no, I definitely think that we're going to look back on this time, and I mean, we were talking about this last week, but like, I deeply regret my role in
Mm-hmm.
um expanding the reach of
But we
places like
didn't.
Twitter and Tumblr and
Yeah, we
Facebook.
didn't know.
Not that it would have happened
Yeah,
any different without me, but I still regret it.
well, I mean, it wasn't like we had a role in building what they became. We had a role
No,
in
but
making them and like enjoying them when they were nice.
yeah,
You
but
know?
especially in the case of Twitter and Tumblr, we had a role in legitimizing them and in legitimizing them as places for public discourse. And we really believed that they were going to be forces of good. Like I believed that the social internet was a machine that would destroy fascism. And that was so,
Yeah.
so naive. And I should have known better. and I think it's okay to regret that.
Yep. Yeah, and I think the same can definitely be said for YouTube as well, and even podcasts. But definitely YouTube.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I mean, I guess we didn't contribute so much to the legitimacy. I think we definitely did contribute to the legitimacy of YouTube.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, in a tiny fractional way. I don't think YouTube.
All of those things were fractional. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing would be any different if we had never existed. Like, like I'm keenly
But
aware of
I think
that.
if anything, it would be. I hope that it would be worse without us, but maybe not.
I think it'd be the same. I think it's
You're
like
probably right.
Faulkner once said, and I think this is one of the smartest things he ever said. He said, if I hadn't written my book, someone else would have. And I think that's basically correct. Like, I think that the tides are so big, and individuals contribute to them, and I think we each have an obligation to try to like do the best we can by ourselves and by the people, and by other people. But like, I think that the forces, like, we worship the individual, but the forces are almost always collective.
Yes, there is no fucking doubt about that. We're ants, man. We're not ants.
I don't know that we're not ants. We're
Well,
not
here's
ants. Like,
the thing that's always pissed me off about Ant-Man is that there's just one of him. And I'm like, come on, Ant-Man, you need to
right.
be, the superpower of ants is not being tiny and strong. The superpower of ants is there being like 7 billion of them per square meter.
And collaborative. Right.
Yeah, working together.
Yeah.
As if they are a single. I love it. But I guess he does sort of like use ants in that way.
Sometimes. I think that, by the way, a lot of people have said in comments, and I appreciate this very much, that we have been a positive presence in their lives, and I
do not
believe
doubt that. Yeah,
and I take that very seriously, and I think that is where we can matter in the like, that is where each of us can matter, like in the lives of the people that we come into contact with, in the lives of the people who give us a seat at the table in their lives. That's where you have the influence. I don't think. And so, yeah, I think that, hopefully we can be enough of a positive influence in those spaces that the public space stuff, but the public space stuff really worries me. I think that like this works. The conversation that we're having now works. But the larger conversations that are happening on the social internet are so siloed, and they are so poorly informed. It's just a bummer. Yeah. So hopefully, I still feel. I mean, I feel more than ever, really, like Nerdfighteria itself is a place of solace and inclusion, and I'm very grateful for that. But I do worry about the internet.
Yep. Yeah, and I worry that TikTok is going to feel great right now, and then 5 years from now, it's going to be a fucking terror.
It doesn't feel that good right now. Like, I think that you're.
Well, yeah. I mean, it seems great. It seems great on my feed.
I think
But
you're
yeah.
romanticizing it a little bit, but yes, we are going to figure out better ways of doing this, in the same way that we figured out like better ways of making newspapers beginning in the 1920s. Like, we're going to figure out better ways of distributing information reliably. But right now, it's very bad. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how we get companies to take their responsibilities seriously. I don't know how we get Twitter and YouTube and Tumblr and Facebook and Reddit to accept that they are media companies that distribute information.
Well, they don't know what they are because there's never been something like this, but they're just going to have to get used to the fact that they have more power than they want to admit they have. And
Yeah.
I have to hold them. Like, it pisses me off so much. I talk to people at all of these companies, and they're like, and I'm like, that you're one of the most powerful people in the world, right? And they're like, no, not at all. Like, we do not have this kind of power. And I'm like,
right. They don't want, well, they don't, of course they don't want to accept
the power.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah, nobody want they definitely like and even privately though I feel like publicly of course you can't admit that, but even privately like they actually don't believe it. They don't think they have that power, and I'm like, you just have to accept how powerful you are. And like the only people who want that kind of power are people who shouldn't have it. So like maybe that's good. But boy, we ended up with a lot of people who have a lot of power who people don't even know their names. Like the head of search and discovery at YouTube, like nobody knows that guy's name.
Yeah, and I think like that person is probably trying to find solution. Like that person
Yeah, they also know how complicated the problem is in a way that I don't.
Yeah. Right. There's a lot of really yeah, that's true. These problems are very complicated. There is no like straightforward, easy, single shot solution.
Oh yeah.
And but that said, like seeing the like misinformation wars on Twitter and seeing people care less about whether something is accurate than like whether it's persuasive, it freaks me out.
Mm-hmm.
Including people I agree with.
Yeah.
It just freaks me out. I have seen what happens when cultures go down that space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have a very hard time speaking against it because they're like, but you're wrong, and I'm like, but I don't think I am, and it's like I feel uncomfortable disagreeing with people on social media who I agree with on my values when I don't agree on tactics, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're also not experts.
So there's nothing pushing back against that. And yes, we are not experts, and
we're
like
wrong we're wrong all the time. And also, I mean, as I get older, like, and I have more of a past life on the internet,
mm-hmm.
I also realize like, what seemed totally reasonable in 2012 now seems wrong. And I think so I don't know. I mean, we're lucky that we can look back at our old videos, Hank, and like not regret much of it. Like I have a couple videos that I regret, but only a couple.
Yep.
But also we started when we were old, like I was an adult. I knew the basics of how to talk to people. Like you don't know that when you're 14 or 20 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Well, okay, we've gone long.
We'll fix it all. Let's go talk about this more on the podcast.
Yeah, or to just talk about other stuff. There's a great question this week about a rabbit that is trying out for a reality TV show, and maybe we could talk about that for the entire hour.
Yeah, well, we also have to ask the fart question, so we'll get to that one too.
Okay, I'm excited.
Okay.
All right, thank y'all. Sorry that we didn't get to more of your questions. We were ranting to each other.
Chat.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll be able to catch up soon. Bye.
Bye. I put my